and welcome to Naturally Kim's Knitting. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show today, whether you're an old-time visitor or a new-time visitor. I love you all. You're all fantastic. Today is March 30th, almost the end of March, beginning of April. Yay! And this is episode 9. Next week will be big number 10. Yay! Then you have to use all your fingers to count them. Okay, excuse me. I'm ready to get started today with what is on my needles. Hello, I'm Kim, and welcome to Naturally Kim's Knitting. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show today, whether you're an old-time visitor or a new-time visitor. I love you all. You're all fantastic. Today is March 30th, almost the end of March, beginning of April. Yay! And this is episode 9. Next week will be big number 10. Yay! Then you have to use all your fingers to count them. Okay, excuse me. I'm ready to get started today with what is on my needles. Now for finished objects. I believe this is number 9. Child's Chemo Cap, a little bit bigger. I made it out of, I did more rounds down than what my pattern calls for. But, you know, there's different size heads in kids. And I'm thinking a teenager, you know, should be able to wear this. Or even an older elementary age. So this was made out of Debbie Norville's collection, Everyday Soft Worsted in Baby Yellow. I have another skein of this, so I'm going to be mixing it in with other things. And this was made on US 6 4.5 millimeter needles. My pattern should be going up hopefully tomorrow or Saturday, because this takes me all day to upload this and everything. So it'll probably be Saturday that I get it on there. Okay, and Friday, Wednesday. No, this is only Wednesday. I should get it up there by Friday. So, okay. Then the other thing I got done is my Hills and Valley cowl. Now, this is on sale at Ravelry. I made mine out of Southwest Trading Company Tofutsi yarn, the ones I just talked to you about that has chitin in it. I love this one. And the pattern on it just reminds me, the pattern in the green reminds me of my trip to Ireland and Scotland and Great Britain. The hills that they had there. I mean, there are so many different colors of green throughout the island. And I saw some this color over there, and I just loved them. And it stayed in my mind all these years, because that was back in 2005, 2010. I've gone on 2 trips. And so I named this Hills and Valley, and I was going to give it a Gaelic name, but I'm afraid nobody would know what it is. It is a cowl. Excuse me. The pattern is available for $3 on Ravelry, and for the whole month of April, anybody who purchases the pattern, I will then, you give me the name of a friend that you would like to also have the pattern, and I will gift it to the friend. Okay? And with a little message. And if you, oh, I'm sorry. And if you are the friend that has received it, I will, and you would like to purchase one for somebody else, you can go ahead and do that, and then you'll get another free one to send to somebody. So that's for the whole month of April. So, well, actually, it will start today, even though it's not April. Starting today, you can have that deal. Okay? And it goes for everybody, whether you watch the podcast or not. I would love for you to come back over to the podcast and let me know what you think about it and all that. I'm loving it. It's just perfect spring weight. I don't know, you can't really see, but it's just perfect spring cowl. I actually had it done for Easter last week, and I wore it to my Easter things and around the house. And sorry, I've got to stop doing this. I had a couple almonds. Shouldn't do that. Anyway, so that's I think that's all that I've finished this week. One of these days I'll have more finished objects than just one or two. But then I'll have to start a whole bunch of them. So anyways, okay, well, that's it for finished objects. Next you get to see the things that have made me happy this week. Okay, so of course something that's made me happy this week is my cow. I love this. I love when I, sorry, it's gotten twisted back here. I love when I make something and I get to keep it for myself. And I love the way it feels. I can see myself wearing this until it falls apart. And if I wear it for very, very much, it might just do that. But it's a nice spring, coolish summer weather cow. I'm loving it. So this has definitely made me very happy. Another thing, last time I ordered tea from Twinings, they sent me a free sample bag of pomegranate raspberry tea, and I've decided I am going to have to order this. I usually prefer loose tea, but this was a tea bag. I should hold it up there so you can see. And it's not too sweet, and it's not bitter. It's just perfect. And I love pomegranate. So I had that in my little Snow Leopards mug. And I love raspberry. And so the two together are just perfect. Something else, it's just put a smile on my face this morning. This is the first time I've had it. Very happy. Something else that's made me very happy. Yesterday, we had bees. I've told you that before. But last year was a very bad year for bees. All we had was rain, and not enough for the flowers to bloom or the things in the gardens to be pollinated or anything. So our bees did not have a real productive year. Well, so I told my husband that this year we're going to get out there, and he made me a huge flower bed out there, and maybe later this year I'll take pictures of it and show you, the fruits of my labor, I guess. And then I also have an herb garden. And I do not remember the last year where we have had weather like this early, that I've actually gone out there and worked up the ground. I'm starting to work up the ground. Now, I realize that here in Ohio, you do not plant things until May. Not unless you really are saying, it's not going to freeze, because it will freeze. It concerns me a little bit because our apple and cherry trees look like they're getting ready to blossom. And that concerns me because I'm afraid we might get a freeze and there'll go our fruit for the year. We have a pear, we have 2 apple, a cherry, a pear, and a peach tree, and a pecan tree, which won't produce for a while. Anyways, it's made me it makes me feel good to go out there and work in the soil. And it's funny because when I was growing up, I was terrified of worms. Well, now I go digging in the soil and I see the worms and I say, thank you, thank you, thank you for being in there, because I know they're going to aerate that soil just nicely. And I used to be terrified of bees. And now we raise bees. I can't take credit for it, although I have asked my husband what would be entailed with me helping with it. And he told me, well, we'll get you a bee suit and we'll see about having me go out there sometime. I said, well, as long as they can't get through the bee suit and sting me, no problem. So, but the other day I have a few daffodils out, and I was out there gardening, working up the soil, and I had a peachy color shirt on, and it was just so funny because one of the bees came over and kind of hovered in front of me for a second, and must have decided I didn't look enough like a flower, and it went over to my daffodils then, but I just smiled at them. So that's what I say. Gardening makes me happy. I have a degree in horticulture from way back when, and I was pregnant with my daughter at the time when I got my degree, and so it's been 30 plus years. So it's instilled such a love of gardening, and which my husband may kind of regret, because if I have a plant die, I have to replace it. Anyways, some other thing, I got some books in the mail this week, which just tickles me pink. The first book I'm going to mention is Custom Knits, and this is by Wendy Bernard, And it's Unleash Your Inner Designer with top-down and improvisational techniques. All three books that I got this week speak to the designer that's in my head that is just screaming to come out. And I mean, this tells you everything from how to take your measurement, choosing your yarn, reading schematics, um, then they give you some patterns of sweaters, but then they tell you different ways to make it your own, changing length, changing yarn, changing necklines. Um, some, I mean, some of the sweaters I may not make the way that they have them designed, but I love the fact that I can then change them up. So, you know, with stitches, you could, I mean, they've got some lovely, lovely pictures in here. Usually I mark a book up as to what it is I want to make first. So this is a great book for the designer that's creeping out of me. And it tells you how to make alterations, like I said, on the sleeves, different necklines, all kinds of things. How much yarn to buy. It's a good book. Custom Knits. I know I'll be referring to this. I refer to patterns a lot to get a general idea of, okay, well, they cast on this many stitches, it did this, let me see if I do this. You know, just inspiration. And so I know I'll use this for inspiration through a lot of things. Then, I'm assuming I'm like almost every other designer out there. I'm going to leave these alone. This one I put bookmarks in all through. 400 Stitchers by Pottercraft. 400 Stitches by Pottercraft. Oh, there's so many pictures in here. I've marked it all up with little note cards so I can remember which patterns I really have loved and which ones I'm going to be using in the future. But they have patterns you can make with knit purl stitches, pattern with cross stitches and cables, laces, slip stitches, fancy stitches, cast off stitches, double stitches. It's amazing. I can see myself, I'm really I'm loving designing things. And this is just going to be perfect. I got this from Knit Stitch, as I did the other book that I showed you. They both came from Knit Stitch. And this one. Since I do want to make shawls, scarves, all kinds of things, I do want to put edgings around some of them. I wanted to get some ideas of some different edgings I can do. So Nikki Epstein, I'm assuming it's Epstein, it could be Epstein, the Essential Edging Collection, 500 of her favorite original borders. That there are 500 different borders out there astounds me. But there's all different kinds in here. I mean, it's... I'm like a kid in a candy store with books like this. I want this and this and this and this. You know, I can't decide fast enough. But it's so nice to have templates to go by. I'm just so thrilled. So that's made me happy. Now let's see. 8, 9, 10. 9, 10, 11. This is day 12 of being on Whole 30. I'm almost halfway through. And that's something else that's made me happy. I was trying to think, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. I was craving sweets because you don't do anything with added sugar. And I was craving sweets, and I didn't have anything I could have in the house. But that's been the first day that I've actually been missing something. So overall, I've been doing pretty well. Yesterday I was tired, but I don't think that was Whole 30. I think that was because I jumped the gun and I put summertime jammies on last night, and it wasn't summertime jammy season yet. So, but that's Whole 30, which, like I said, it's just making me happy. I love the way I feel. I do have more energy overall. Well, I still take my sleeping pill at night, but I'm not waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning like I used to. You know, and it's just making me feel better. I'm anxious to see. I haven't weighed myself, so I'm anxious to see if I've lost weight. I have been exercising every day, yoga usually, but it's amazing. I recommend it. I thought it sounded very daunting at first because you give up legumes except for green beans, sugar snaps, and snow peas. You give up dairy, which I thought that was going to be impossible. I love yogurt. I love a little thing of ice cream once in a while. And gave up dairy. You give up additional sweets. I mean, you can have your fruit and things like that that have natural sugar in them, but you don't add sugar to anything. Um, Wine or alcohol, which not a big issue for me. I did think I would miss honey in my tea, but I don't. Well, it it matters if you have herbal tea, I think too, or if you don't mind drinking your black tea. I gotta show my cat. Black tea with by itself, it works. The custom Whole 30 is amazing. I mean, it's getting rid of all these things so that I can then add them back little by little and see what it is that makes me feel blah or makes me feel bloated or makes my joints hurt more. Gardening's making them hurt right now, but that's another story. Um, so yeah, it's making me happy, but in a more subdued way, if that makes any sense. So okay, I think that's it for what's been making me happy. Now I'm going to go on to what I've been reading and watching, and I need to put and listening to. Okay. I don't have a big section this week, but I do need to give you a little warning. This is where I talk about TV shows, books, audiobooks, things like that. If you don't want to know what's happened, feel free to scooch forward. Or if you want to hear a little bit about what I've been watching, reading, and listening to, go ahead and watch. That's what this is for. Like I've said, my husband doesn't watch television. And my daughter with two little ones is finding very little hard, finding a hard time watching more than just a little bit of shows. And you know, the shows she watches aren't necessarily the same ones I do right now, because her little 2.5-year old, um, even like with Doctor Who this past season, it's been a darker season, and her little girl is not she's getting very sensitive to these dark shows. So my daughter's staying away. I seem like I'm a little fuzzy today. I don't know why. There, that helped. Sorry you had to see a close-up of my hand. Anyways, so first of all, so I like to do this so I can talk with somebody. And if you ever want to talk about it, maybe what I'll do is I'll put a little link on my Ravelry page, Never Not Knitting. Never Not Knitting. Wrong one. Naturally Kim's Knitting. And if you ever want to talk about any of the shows, feel free to sign in and talk, because I love to talk about these things. Anyway, so I watched this week Once Upon a Time. I've had mixed feelings because I think it is darker. And so it just seems like so many of my shows that I'm watching anymore are taking a dark turn, and I don't know if this is something about society as a whole, or if it's just me, or what it is. But I still care for the characters of Once Upon a Time, but it's a little different. In this episode, though, Hook's brother Liam came back, or he's in the underworld, and he presents himself to Hook and Emma Swan, and he tells them, and after being questioned, he says that there should be some way of defeating Hades, which is their goal, so that everybody can go home. At the same time, Cruella de Vil has demanded Henry that he needs. Henry is the author of the story, and back in the regular world, Henry broke the pen when he decided he was done with this. Well, Cruella de Vil, no, the apprentice who happens to be in the underworld because he has unfinished business, told Henry that he can find the pen and he can rewrite, or he can write, you know, the ending that he wants. And in fact, he can write people back into existence. So Henry found the pen and the ink. And he's going to, and he's basically shared his plan with Merlin. And let's see. Oh, and they've come to the conclusion, everybody, that just as there's a book in the real world, which was the story book, there should be a storybook for the underworld. And they found it. But Liam, who is still under contract with Hades, Hades told him to go rip out any pages relating to him. And so Liam did. But I'll just say, in the end, though, Liam showed that he's willing to sacrifice himself for somebody else. He sacrificed himself for his brother. So even though Hades was sending him onto his next world or whatever, intending him to be with Hades forever, Liam, since he sacrificed himself, was able to go to a better place, as they call it. So it was a good story. It's just some of it's a little a little crazy. I love it when I can't think of a word and I start off saying it. Anyways, then after Once Upon a Time, I watched Grantchester. I love both PBS shows, and I loved Grantchester last season. It's a mystery show. Sydney Chambers is the vicar. Geordie is the policeman, and they work together and they solve murders. It's amazing in these small towns how many murders there are. But in this one, it was a little disturbing too. Anytime there's any kind of accusation of sexual assault to a minor, well, to anybody, but to a minor, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. But Sydney was accused of this, and I knew he didn't. And so they found another priest, a photographer, and a classmate of the victim, who they all ended up accusing. And they did get the bad guy in the end. It wasn't Sydney. I don't want to go into any more than that, but it was a good episode. But I do know there's changes this year, and I'm not quite sure if Geordie's going to keep acting a little bit wild, because their interrogation was a little bit weird, and wasn't happy about that. But anyways, Geordie has decided that Sydney needs a girl, though, a woman. So he's going to find him a woman. So anyways. Okay, Scorpion, this would be last week's. I haven't watched anything since Sunday. I've taped them, but I haven't watched them yet. So Scorpion from last week, Cabe gets a new helper. And the team doesn't quite trust anybody who comes into their little group. And so, of course, they're looking him up to find out what's going on with him. Well, in the meantime, they get a case. Cabe ends up being kidnapped. And Paige is kind of taken with the new guy. As she and the new guy have to go undercover and try to, they have to figure out where Cabe is. They have to solve the crime. And of course, they do it. And they do it within the hour. Amazing. I shouldn't say a kid like that. But I do like Scorpion. I'm enough of a geek. Okay. My kids are probably saying I'm a big geek. But I'm enough of a geek that I love shows where geniuses are spotlighted in a good way. Well, for one thing, I have 2 genius children that, they just boggle my mind. And of course, my son-in-law and my grandchildren, I know they're brilliant. What mother or grandmother wouldn't say this, huh? Okay. I have been with gardening. It makes me so tickled because I don't often find time to listen to books when I'm not outside. If I'm walking or something, and I'm not with the dog. When I'm with the dog, I'm talking to her almost constantly. Um, but now that I'm not able to go outside, I actually took The Hobbit. I just watched the Hobbit movies last week. But I took the Hobbit out, and I did start listening to it on a car trip not too long ago. But I've into the about, oh, maybe almost all the way through chapter 5 right now. Um, all the dwarves and Bilbo are stuck in a tree to escape the wolves. This is after they've been in the cave where Smog, not Smog, Gollum was. So, I still have quite a ways to go. I'll probably still be listening to it next week, depending on what kind of weather we have. Like today, I'm hoping to get outside and at least listen to a chapter of it. It also depends how my hands stand up, because gardening, my little arthritic joints don't always like. They didn't go to horticulture classes with me. Okay, I tell you, I'm a little weird. I admit it. I'm sorry, but okay. Some of the podcasts that I've listened to, I always listen to Geeky Girls Knits. I love Geeky Girls Knits. Cece, Cece and her daughter Damaris are just great. I love them. I actually went back and I watched all of the episodes from the beginning up till now after I discovered them, and I've loved them from their first episode. So it's really really cool. I don't miss an episode with them. 90% knitting. I listened to her again this past week. She's she's younger than I am, but she's still, she has her own shop, which I haven't bought from yet. But now that I know she does, I may have to go in and do some exploring sometime. Now that we're past Easter, I can actually buy yarn again, but I have to ration it. And then another one that came out with an episode last week is Never Not Knitting, with Alanis. When I was out in California last year, this is when I first discovered knitting podcasts. And I didn't know anything about video podcasts back then. But I came across this app on my Kindle where you could get different podcasts, and one of them was Never Not Knitting. I must say, hers was the first knitting one I listened to, and I listened to it. It's not a video podcast; it's a just a podcast. But I tell you, she has such a wonderful voice, and she is so creative, and she has such a love for family that I love listening to her talk on her podcast. I was thinking because there was somebody else I listened to this week, and I don't have it down. I know there was. If I think about it, I'll link them in the show notes, and I'll give them a shout out next week. Okay, I think that's it. I am in the middle of reading a book, but it's an advanced an advanced reviewer's copy. So I really don't want to. I won't share much about that. When it comes closer to publication, I might let you guys know. But right now, I don't like to do that with advanced readers copies, because there are ways of getting them that don't help the publisher or the author out at all. And I have too much respect for creative people to take money out of their pockets when their work is just so admirable. So anyways, I will let you know that as it gets closer to being done, or as it gets closer to publication. Okay, I think that is it for this week. So, we'll go over to announcements and miscellaneous, and then we'll be done. So just a moment, and let me get my announcements together. Okay, this is the part where I let you know of any announcements or miscellaneous things that I need to share. Got a hair in my mouth. My main thing is I am really looking for pattern testers. I am making something right now that actually I can send out to pattern testers before I finish it. But I need some pattern testers to do that. I might be reaching out to some people on Ravelry before long, but I don't like to beg. I, I don't like to go to their web pages and beg. I'd much rather have you guys come to me as you see this. As a beginning designer, I really hate to have my things put out there for sale until I make sure that things are correct. One of the reasons the top-down chemo cap isn't out there right now is my pattern tester um, found a mistake or two in it, and so I need to go back and correct those, and then I'll put it out there. Where if I wouldn't have had her, I'd have put a pattern out there which had mistakes in it, and I don't want to do that. But it's very hard when you're designing something. If you knit it yourself again, you're probably going to make the same mistakes again and again. So I really could use help. And I know you guys are wonderful. I know you guys will help out if you just know I need it. So that is the main thing. That's my main announcement I make almost every week. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot more going on right now. I do need to let you know, which I've not really made a big deal about this before, but I'll be going out to California. When I go out to California to visit my daughter and my grandchildren and my daughter's husband, since I only get to see them on these trips, I like to go out for 3-4 weeks at a time. Now, right now, I don't have any way of paying for a camera or whatever to take videos while I'm out there. So, more than likely, I'm going to have to take a little break during that time. That's not till the beginning of June. So, if you notice at that time that, hey, she hasn't put a podcast out for 3 or 4 weeks, it's not that I stopped. It's just that I need to. I love spending the time with my family, and I'm always so thankful that my son lives close enough we can go over there and back in a day. Not easy to do when you got somebody else in California. So I'll be doing it in June, but then in October there'll be a few weeks where I'll probably be gone too. But more about that as it gets closer. I just wanted to let you know now, and we'll mention it again as it gets closer. Otherwise, I think that's it. I hope you guys have a great week. I love you all. Big hugs. Take care. And happy, happy knitting.